In this video, you're going to watch me write copy using the flywheel process. And for this video, I'm going to be writing that email convincing someone that wants to become a freelance writer to enroll in our $99 online course. And I'm just going to be writing the rough draft using this flywheel process that we've been talking about. Now, before I actually get started writing the copy, I'm going to get more customer language, because this isn't going to be enough to write the first draft of our copy. To do that, I'm just going to hop over and start on Udemy. But really, we could go to any marketplace where a bunch of freelance copywriters are hanging out, or people that want to become freelance copywriters. And let's take a look at the top course. And I'm going to go straight to the ratings and reviews. Here we go. And I know we already looked at some of these in a previous video, so I just want to skip ahead so I'm not at the very top of the reviews. Here we go. So this is solution copy. Okay, so now that I've gathered more of the customer language, we have a more complete customer language document. And now we're going to actually start putting together the copy for this email using the flywheel process. And the formula that I'm going to go with here is PAS, which is pain, agitate, solution. And I'm going to make these the heading and then start piecing together customer language under each of these. And this is where it starts to get fun. So pain. Now we're going to be addressing the pain points that students are facing. So there's something here. I need more practical advice. I was so lost as to where to start organizing my business. I love to make some income as a writer. And let's see if there's anything else we can do here. Now, typically, I would have 5 to 10 pages of customer language that I could use for this process. But since this is just a short piece of copy, we're writing an email, we don't need too much. And keep in mind, this is just to get us going for the first draft, and then you can make it your own and add more to it as you edit and polish it. And this could be some in the beginning. So let's see what we have so far. So I recommend this for anyone who wants to start writing copy and build a portfolio. So we can just say this to, are you ready to start writing copy and build a portfolio as a freelance copywriter? If so, the amounts of information out there to learn from is overwhelming. So I'm kind of adding a little bit to put on top of what customers are already saying, or what other people in the target market are saying. And then we could say one of these. I'm just going to adapt this. So it's, if you're looking, or if you're ready to learn how to get started in this field, then you may need more practical advice. And I'm pulling a little bit from here too. And I'm seeing more language here that we can use. I was expecting this course to help me write step by step. Instead of going through courses that are filled with endless theory, or let's just talk about the pain here. So it's saying it's frustrating to go through courses that are filled with endless theory. And then when we go to the solution, we'll be talking about how this course is step by step. So what if we added this in the beginning? Are you ready to make some income as a freelance copywriter? Ready to start writing copy and build your portfolio? If so, the amount of information out there to learn from is overwhelming. Overwhelming and not practical. If you're ready to learn how to get started in this field, then you may need more actionable advice. So as you can see, I'm still working with the direct customer language, but just changing a few of the words here and there to make sure it pieces together and it makes sense. It's frustrating to go through. It's frustrating to waste time browsing courses that are filled with endless theory. And then let's just say it can make you feel lost as to when it comes to starting your career as a freelance copywriter. And for the sake of an email, I would say that's enough pain, and it's time to go on to agitate. So how can we build up this pain in the minds of the reader? Now, if you do have language in the customer language document that directly points to how the people in your target market are feeling, that's really powerful copy that you can use here. Like if people are saying in their own words, this makes me feel so upset when this happens, or this feeling is just like grinding inside my body, or whatever descriptive language they use, that's gold. And if possible, we would love to put that under the agitate column. Now, based on the copy that I have here, or the customer language, I don't really see much of anything that would work well under the agitate column. So let me just do one last look through this section here. And if I don't see anything, then we're just going to use our best guess to build up the pain that they've already been talking about here. So nothing there. Maybe we could do tedious and monotonous. This could be something we could use. If you read this, you can tell there's a feeling of frustration there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that, but I don't want to use the copy itself, but I'm just going to label it as feeling frustrated. And what we're doing now is we're just assembling the puzzle pieces. It's like when you're creating a puzzle and you put together all of the edge pieces, so then you can start working on the edges of the puzzle. our edge pieces at this moment are anything that could be used to help us piece together the agitate part of our copy. And I'm going to add this piece, and that should be good enough. So now we want to agitate this stuff from the beginning. And the main points here are the amount of information out there is overwhelming and not practical. So I'm going to put pain point, overwhelming amounts of information that's not practical. And another pain point, wasting time. It's frustrating to waste time browsing courses that are filled with endless theory. Wasting time, frustrating, and can make you feel lost. So what we want to do now is agitate these pain points. Why are these pain points so painful? We want to build it up a little bit, and if possible, we're going to be pulling some of this language down here if it makes sense. So let's just start with this first one, an overwhelming amount of information that's not practical. Is there anything here that fits under that pain point? Well, one is this tedious and monotonous would go under the wasting time, how frustrating that is. And here is something that has to do with not being practical. And I'd put this under a frustrated feeling. And with this, you'll notice that I put 3 pain points here, and these are just the pain points from the earlier part of the copy, and now I'm going to start to agitate them. You can do that if you like, or if there's another way that you prefer to do this, it's up to you. This is the kind of process where I'm teaching you the basics of how to use the FlyWheel technique and how we're piecing it together based on the customer language document. But ultimately, you're going to have to play and experiment with this technique in order to make it your own. And if you enjoy this process that I'm using right here of putting the pain points down, agitating them, and then I'm going to delete these pain points, then feel free to use it. That's awesome. But if this is feeling a little awkward for you, or you feel like it's not necessary, you can just go ahead and piece together copy that forms the agitate part of your copy. It's totally up to you, and the most important thing is it's something that you feel comfortable with. Now keep in mind, as I'm going through this process, my mind is a little bit on fire. The mental part that's fearful is saying, how is this going to piece together into copy? This isn't going to work. This doesn't make any sense. But the deeper part of me knows that this is part of the process. And as you'll see, by the time we end this exercise, we'll have a first solid draft of copy. So it can feel very rough and messy in the beginning, but the whole process is just polishing, refining, and eventually we end up with a piece of copy that's really great. So I'm going to keep moving forward. And I'm going to start with this first pain point here. Overwhelming amount of information that's not practical. And I'm going to rewrite that to say, the amount of information we're presented with is overwhelming. If you search for copywriting courses, or let's change that to freelance copywriting courses on Google or YouTube, there will be thousands of videos. Tens of thousands. Filled with information. The problem is 99% of this information is not practical for you. a lot of the advice you hear will not apply to you and your situation. The result is you waste, and now I'm going to be going into the second pain point of wasting time, is you waste countless hours of your time with videos that don't get you closer to your goals. So now we can get rid of this. And if you had more customer language, you could try and piece this together. But personally, I find the best way is to add customer language in here, like what we did in this first section. And then if you need more information, you kind of riff off this customer language and just add a little bit of your own thoughts, extending that main idea that exists in the customer language. So even though we started with just 2 tiny sentences, I was able to take the main points of each of those sentences and add on some copy to it to make it a little bit longer. And now I'm going to talk about wasting time. Wasting your time is frustrating. When you're not in a job that pays you by the hour, wasted time equals wasted money. And now I'm just building up the pain of wasting your time. Sounds frustrating. Manage all the pages that are wasted. Wasted time equals wasted money. And as a novice, learning about copywriting for the first time, it can be hard to focus when the material is very tedious and monotonous. And here we're using more of the customer language. And I'm going to get rid of this because I don't think we can really use this. And we've already tapped on the feeling of feeling frustrated. And this pain point here is it can make you feel lost. So we'll just tie up this agitation here and say, the end result of this research is you feel completely lost. You don't feel any closer to reaching your goal of financial freedom, becoming your own boss, and achieving financial freedom as a freelance copywriter. And if you remember back to an earlier exercise where we talked about the number one feeling they want to feel, it's freedom. So that's why I'm coming back and bringing up this idea of achieving financial freedom. And that's enough for the agitate right now. And later we're going to edit this, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. And finally we come to the solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some stuff from the solution part of our customer language document. So here are all the possible solutions that our target market is looking for. So one thing that I'm noticing that's come up a few times is developing new revenue streams or increasing your income. So we're going to make sure we want to cover that in the solution portion of this copy. And this right here is a great line. I'm halfway through this course and I feel like I've been doing this for months. So now that we have all this language together, let's start to put it together into the solution part of our copy. So let's start somewhere with this is useful for those new to copywriting. Or actually, I think this is a better place to start for quick start into the copywriting business. So let's do a little transition. If you're tired of being overwhelmed by training out there, it's time to learn from a focused online course. And we can change this later. This is just the first draft. So let's say you need a course that gives you, I'm just going to copy and paste this, all the materials needed for a quick start into the copywriting business. A course that's useful for those new to copywriting. And I'm assuming for this example that this course is targeted for people that are new to copywriting and they want to become a freelance copywriter. And because of that, I'm not going to use this line down here. So I'm going to get through this, delete that. New to copywriting and helps you write and teaches you everything you need to know. Step by step. Learning about freelance copywriting shouldn't be tedious and boring. And that's going to be a transition into this. This course, the instructor in this course is energetic and engaging throughout. And that's enough for now, but we're going to edit this later. Very short and to the point. The course is also filled with examples that the instructor gives. So we got that piece done. And then let's just say, by the time you make it halfway through this course, you'll feel like you've been doing this for months. And that's why I think this method is so exciting. If I were to write copy on a blank white screen, I never would have come up with that line. That is such a good line for our email copy, and that's directly from the customer language. And I'm going to get rid of these. I don't think they're too relevant for us. And the length of our email is already long enough. So that's it. So now we have pain, agitate, and solution. And in a later video, you're going to watch me as I edit and polish this copy. Now I realize that watching this process is a little messy. I was speaking through my thoughts as I was having them, and none of this was pre-planned. But I just want to show you that this is what the process actually looks like of writing copy using the FlyWheel process. Now, don't worry if this feels really awkward and uncomfortable in the beginning. It definitely has for me. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, even now as I go through this process, part of my mind is doubtful that, is this really going to work? Can I get away with just using the customer language? But as you start to do this more and more, you're going to become more confident in your ability to go off of that customer language and write a first rough draft. And if you think about how hard it would have been to write this much copy from a blank white sheet of paper, then this makes this method seem very attractive. It was mostly reworking language that we already had in the customer language document. And I wouldn't be able to write this much copy in that short a period of time without the customer language. And on top of that, this copy is going to be much more effective than it was just my words alone, because most of this is coming straight from the people in our target market. And even though I had to take some liberties with the copy in the agitate portion because there wasn't that much in our customer language document, it's still building off the main ideas that came directly from the customer language. In this video, you watched as I use the FlyWheel process to write a piece of copy live.